And thanks for checking out 90 for Chill, the podcast with CatBusRuss. This is your host, CatBusRuss. And it was an interesting week/weekend trying to compose this episode. The primary goal was to see Expendables 4, since finally September came along and is releasing the kind of schlocky movies that I kind of yearn for, I suppose. So with that, I was originally planning to get up to Wrigley Field for the last Cubs homestand, and that was kind of delayed by plans changed when Hannah and Isabel from an opposing Champaign Poor Bros free pub trivia team invited me to go and partake in the Hellraiser bonfire. And I, decided, I'm going to be up that late. I guess it takes out the Cubs game. So I did get around to seeing the Expendables 4, the Expendables sequel, I should say. And I will get around to talking to that. And I did record I recorded about me trying to set up this episode. Basically, I wanted to do a 1, 2, and 3, and 4, of course, Expendables 4. So I hadn't talked about Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth on this podcast, so I decided to talk about that, and I wanted to get myself pumped for Expendables, and I decided to rewatch, of course, Schlock Cinema, Expendables 2. Probably the most fun of the series, in my opinion. Not the best narrative, but pretty linear. So, and my plan was that early morning, once I got back home to my parents around midnight, and then hung out with my big sister, the poetic critic, who's looking for a good social media platform to jump on. If you got any suggestions, I stand by Mastodon myself. You can follow me on Mastodon at Russ Stevens at mastodon.social. So we hung out a bit, and Lord knows 2 o'clock came around after the late Saturday night, late Sunday. I was just not going to go and find another movie to watch. I didn't even need any edibles to get to bed. So I got home to Champaign today before I had to get to work, where my head's at, I got to work a half hour early. No objections by that great secondary job. So that was just tells you where my head was at. A little tired still, and having a couple ciders, and I think we'll wrap it up pretty quick. But hey, I still want to get some content out. So with that, my recordings about Hellraiser 3 and Expendables 2 are on a different device than what I put my Expendables feature on. So with that said, I'm just going to go and get the first part of this podcast done then, which will be the bookends, essentially. Expendables 4 and the movie that's the first in a franchise, at least I hope. I'm being realistic. It's not. This DVD finally got in the mail today from Netflix, and I'm trying to get it back in the mail, so hopefully I can get those 10 free DVDs that DVD.com Netflix is trying to liquidate, essentially. They don't need them anymore. So the movie that came in was Unleashed from 2005 with Jet Li, Bob Hoskins, Morgan Freeman, and Carrie Condit. I think that's how I say her name. She was in the Banshees of Inisherin and excellent in that. So it's a movie. This movie is, and that's what became the title of the episode, because man, there's a lot of things that I try to talk around. I don't want to spoil Expendables 4 or Expendables. It's just weird how they keep trying to incorporate the number in the title. Let's just get back to the parts, I suppose. I mean, that's probably why The Nun 2 beat it at the box office this weekend. At least that's what the stats were, unless quite the rally on Sunday. And, yeah. So, Unleashed is about a mobster portrayed by Bob Hoskins, Mario from the Super Mario Brothers movie, and, of course, he played Khrushchev in Enemy at the Gate, one of the few guys who decided to use a Russian accent. Of course, Eddie Valiant in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You can go on and on about all his early British stuff. I still need to watch, I believe it's Mona Lisa, if I'm reading my Criterion section of my DVDs correctly. So he's a mobster who, well, really he's just a loan shark. At least that's what it seems to start. And he has raised a young Chinese boy into adulthood to serve as his attack dog. Whenever he pulls off the custom collar he has on the boy, now Jet Li, who's probably playing 20 years younger, and I think he kind of pulls it off. He was only 42 at this time, I believe. And if you don't pay the loan, he pulls off the collar and the attack dog is sent off. And it's a pretty good working relationship, but, there's times where he's way too obedient. And he is still human, despite he eats with his hands and such. And he's still fascinated and curious. So I guess you could say, well, that still makes him a dog. But one loan collection, he is distracted by all these pianos at an antique store. And Morgan Freeman walks in to go and tune them. In the meantime, he's supposed to just be on the lookout until notified to go and beat the crap out of the guys cheating Bob Hoskins. But fascination with the music leads him to just help tune pianos with Morgan Freeman, and that results in another second beating for Bob Hoskins, who still manages to get his money. So, put the effort in. So, from there, he decides to get out of loan sharking and just going into deathmatch fighting using Jet Li. Danny is his name, and Bob Hoskins is Uncle Bart. And then after they thought everything was good, some vengeful borrowers try to kill Uncle Bart, and leaves Jet Li, Danny, just wandering to the only place he knew otherwise, which was that antique store. And then it's a loving movie about Morgan Freeman and a blind piano tuner and his stepdaughter trying to reincorporate Jet Li into society. And of course, the third act, it all goes to hell. Uncle Bart finds him and is determined to have his attack dog back. And obviously, to protect his family, Danny doesn't want to do it, but he doesn't want them to get involved. But he wants answers, and that's how he finds out about his past. And still, that's just ends up being a mess, of course. Third act is him fighting off them trying to capture him again. And why would they want to capture a guy who keeps betraying them? So, the feature has great performances, I think. This is very young Kerry Condon. That's it. And Morgan Freeman, is only in his 60s at this point, so It's fun. He's playing blind, but it's Morgan Freeman. The voice is all you really care about, and there's some great lines from him. So he works out well, and all the acting is strong. Direction is a little iffy, and the tale might be a little too narrative, maybe a little too fast. But then again, this is a Luc Besson script, and I guess this is probably something he just penned. He really wasn't thinking about being overly clever with it. It's just something to keep the wheels going for his machine. And there's Jet Li is great in it, I think, as basically a man-child just trying to figure out what real life is. I'd say 10 years earlier, and I don't think it would. 10 years earlier, I would say probably this would be your typical Jackie Chan movie or import. I guess it's probably great that they went with Jet Li just because, well, everybody takes Jet Li serious. And I can't really say Jet's done a comedy in the States. So that might be a tragedy, especially now that he's in his 60s and, really just doing his best to chill out and not get involved, I think, in either Chinese or American politics. Probably a good move. He's a Singaporean citizen now. So, so the direction can be a little just acceptable, I think, at best. But the fight choreography is Yuan Woping, so you can't be too angry. And you also get a young Scott Adkins for all you fans of made-for-video action movies. He's a protagonist in a couple of the Universal Soldier really kooky reboots. And he's in Hard Target 2. Another one would be... he isn't... no, he's not the kickboxer guy, but he's always fun to see. He's great in John Wick 4. I think his character was a little overly silly, but, that's... still, he has to fight in a fat suit in John Wick Chapter 4, so it just shows his quality. And when I complain about the direction, there are some great fight sequences still. The entire pool fight. The action saves it more than the direction, I'll say that. But there's a fight which, if you thought hallway tights were fight, how about European bathroom fights? So I thought that was a lot of fun and very unique. The lead up to that's where you see most of the continuity errors in the direction. As I say, there's some clever dialogue, and they give it to the right people. I guess that's just the biggest flaw for a movie like this. I really don't want it to be taken too seriously. And I don't think Luc Besson really knows how to write a straightforward action movie like this. I'm just going back to the movie Lucy, where it's just like boom, 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 point A, point B to point C. Like, just revel in the chaos a little bit is all I'd like to say. Laugh at it. It is an action movie, and sadly, action fans aren't taking it too seriously, my opinion. So, but as I say, Jet Li is lovable, Morgan Freeman's great, and Bob Hoskins, I guess, is the primary great performance in that. I would say it's because you legitimately buy that he does not want to end his relationship with Jet Li's character. He knows he's an evil man, but Jet is part of his evil life, and it's just not complete without him. So it's a real twisted love, and Bob Hoskins pulls it off very well. So there you go, I guess, with Unleashed. Great Bob Hoskins, clever enough Morgan Freeman, interesting Jet Li, good fights, and so it's a fun. That's just been the weekend, I suppose. Fun movies. This is probably the best movie I saw this weekend, though. Well, I did get to rewatch Hellraiser and Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, and really further appreciate them. So, but we'll go with but this is definitely the newest movie, unseen movie I've got to enjoy, and it's on Tubi right now. So if you're just looking to get that action fix and a little humanity, Unleash will be for you. So we'll do some funny transition tune on Spotify for podcasters, and we'll get to the Expendables 4, and I will try to drop the other conversation I had this week. Well, I say conversation, but this was a guestless week, so I'll drop that some other time. But since I'm just going to lead into the next movie, let me just go and pull off all my credits, I should say. So when it comes to credit, thank you, Ava, for being cool enough to let me get my photo of her to be the podcast art. And, of course, thanks, Station Marie Harden, for always looking after me. It's great that I'm at least getting to hang out with new friends. And thank you, Hannah, Isabel, and company over the Hellraiser Marathon. Kept me on the toes this week. And thanks for making sure there are good people looking after me, Stacia. And as long as you keep looking after Skimble the One-Eared Angel, I think everything is all right with the world. Otherwise, rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast apps. 5 stars, please. Be as honest as you want, though, in the comments. 5 stars are going to draw my attention to it, and it doesn't hurt the algorithms. Apple Podcasts is my preferred podcast platform, but Spotify has been very good to me. And if you want to be on the show, you can follow me at CatBusRuss on Twitter, or, of course, at Russ Stevens at Mastodon.social on Mastodon. Or you can send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. Offer me a movie, a director, an actor, a theme, and let's make a slice of fried podcast gold. The rules of the podcast are 70 to 100 minutes, but I can always make exceptions if you're willing to put the work in. So if somebody has that Amadeus podcast they want to do, we can make it work. Otherwise, when it comes to guests, hey, I am free Wednesday evening. So if you're listening to that and you want to make a splash in the podcast world, get a hold of me. I'll be happy to figure something out. So, without further ado, I will set it on to the Expendables. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not the Expendables. It's Expendable 4, which I hope doing Unleashed fills in that Jackie Chan void. Sorry, Jet. That Jet Li void. Sorry, I can't come up with the Terry Crews way to fill up that void. And it's sad because I have Idiocracy and I've never actually watched it. And I'm just sitting outside the AMC IMAX 18 in Peoria, Illinois. I actually came to Peoria just because, I thought my mom might want to see this movie. She's seen the last 3 with me, so in theaters. And, she was a little like, oh, there's no Antonio Banderas. And, like, Mom, that's the worst one of them. But, I digress. Well, it turns out she's just a little too tired. And, hey, she's a grandma with 2 grandkids that seem to always be around. So I don't blame her. Thus, I did go and see Expendables 4, or Expend 4, trying to place that 4 and trying to sound clever is a little nuts. And gosh, I see way too many kids going to their cars after this. I mean, there was a family ahead of me, and I thought they were going to actually take the entire clan to see Expendables 4, so gosh, parenting. Just something that confounds me, dare I say. So, but enough of that, and I stop and think about this. How many guests that I had on the show who actually are parents? I don't know if George from Not a Strong Start has kids. I don't know. I don't think Dre from the Tattoo Squid podcast has kids. I'm pretty sure Ween and Ray, don't have children. So, just a tangent. What can I say? So, Expendables 4, which in the end, I mean, it's a pretty no bullshit movie. I will say. Well, I think there's a degree of bullshit, but that's just more of a commitment and basically like, oh, you could create a new franchise and oh, you're playing it safe again. So, like with Expendables 3, okay, we're going to have the old guys save the new guys, and it's going to be one big happy family, and whoever wants to come back comes back. And yeah, it just was silly and a half hour too long. This feature, though, it's good 100 minutes, and as I say, the action's pretty solid throughout. We get that good old graphic violence stuff I am a fan of, and Antonio Banderas' character is replaced by a proxy, but he gets to be the son, so it kind of makes sense. I mean, well, I don't know. I think Antonio's probably only in his early 60s, so maybe he had another one in him, but, we don't want to all do that Liam Neeson thing. So the story is really about the Lee Christmas character, Jason Statham's character, and he does get top billing. I should have looked. I don't know. I'll have to look at the posters because that is covering. Because the poster's probably going to cover something up. So the guys go on a mission to stop I believe it's the protagonist of the Raid Redemption, and from stealing nuclear detonators in Libya. Of course, they're not successful, and it looks, well, I mean, Stallone's Barney Ross dies, and Christmas is to blame. Sorry, just funny saying Christmas to blame for the mission's failure. If they got the detonators, it wouldn't have mattered if Ross died. I mean, Ross would have made the ultimate sacrifice. So, with all that said, the leader, the CIA guy, is played by Anthony Garcia, and as a result of this screw up, he assigns Megan Fox to lead the Expendables, who is in a turbulent relationship with the Lee Christmas character. And basically it comes down to Jason Statham having to go rogue solo and hope that Tony Jaa will help him avenge Barney's death. So that's the feature. You do get a great story about Dolph Lundgren's character, Gunner, dealing with his sobriety. As I say, you get a fun homage to Antonio Banderas' character from Expendables 3. So, hey, Mom, they at least knew what really worked in that movie. Megan Fox, she's kind of on a renaissance now. I really hate the fact that she had to go and kind of just slum it out for a decade before we'd take her seriously. So, but she's very solid. She does what you want Megan Fox to do, to be just an in-control hot chick. That's just hard to find, I think, in cinema. But I digress. And I know that might sound chauvinistic, but I think she knows her lane, sadly. We want this from her. And if she's willing to play it, more power to her. But it's finally a strong female character and an expendable movie. Sorry, Ronda Rousey. So, at least she gets fleshed out in a 90-minute movie. Ronda Rousey doesn't in an 2-hour movie. So, we'll get it. So, The visual, a lot of CG. It's filmed primarily in Greece and Portugal, to, those Mediterranean countries that kind of have the same vibe as Libya. And most of the film takes place after we finally get things settled. Takes place on a oil tanker with a nuclear bomb outside of the Russian waters. So if they don't succeed, we're going to have World War III, and the Expendables are to blame. So, and then by the third act, it's twist, and then a kind of gutless twist, I think. And honestly, a twist that kind of makes you look poorly upon a primary expendable. I mean, yeah, the guy, we might kind of not like a character, but it seems a little mean out of character. So, but I mean, it's better than, as I say, Chuck Norris just like, I'm gonna kill all the scum attitude in 2. So I think the narrative is pretty solid. I like the fact that it is Statham's movie. I think because that allows you to take the franchise in different directions. I miss Terry Crews. Miss Jet Li. Tony Jaa, this is one of his best performances, I think, in an English language movie. So that's very cool. We didn't get enough of another female character in this movie. I really wish I wasn't just recording on my phone so I could look up her stats on IMDb. I mean, it's a cool character, tattooed Chinese character called Lash, who, eventually gets to whip out her chains and live up to her name. The battles are all pretty, I don't know, I guess I would say, you kind of screwed up with the narrative at the beginning. Just trying to cut and be, you're not Christopher Nolan, and this is not Dunkirk. So, I mean, it's brief, but I just don't like the pacing decisions with that one. It's definitely not how it would have been right on the script. And this is completed in 2022, I believe, so you can't, I don't know. Hopefully the WGA strike has ended tonight. It is Sunday the 24th. But, a good script supervisor could have probably said, let's not do that if they were on set and if they had their hand in writing the feature. If anything, this is the best Kurt Wimmer movie I've seen. He wrote part of the script, or I guess he's credited probably as the key writer. I think he's first in the billing. I have a history of Kurt Wimmer. He wrote and directed Ultraviolet, which just was nonsensical. And then I'm not a fan of the movie Equilibrium with Christian Bale and Tyrese Gibson, I think it was. I know Sean Pertwee's in it, and, they give Sean Pertwee enough time to, warrant killing him off eventually. That's a key I was talking about in the Hellraiser movies. It's like, Isabel was talking about saying, and this actor was in Rome, and this actor's in TNG, and either, basically she could spot a bunch of Deep Space Nine character actors in the first 3 Hellraiser movies. Quite the talent. I really need to get her on the podcast. And so, I just, it's like, for him, he wants to be too clever, and I think this film really just allowed it to be just straightforward, for the most part. And I would like to try writing a script to keep it strictly on the boat or something like that, but it gets there in the right way. I just, it tries to be too clever in the twist, though, so there's the Kurt Wimmer flaw. I don't see this. It opened, I think, with 8.3 compared to The Nun 2's $8.4 million. So I think this probably is the end, especially with the lack of access to the Chinese market and the Russian market. But well, I guess it's not a good place to end on, though. Again, they kind of chicken out on creating something new with the franchise. And I guess I'm kind of disappointed in that. But if you're looking for a fun action movie, and this is definitely a nice apology for PG-13 Expendables 3, I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, if you like if you like Jason Statham, you're going to enjoy the movie. It's an easy movie to enjoy, and it's got the violence and action and for the most part, the funny violence and gore you want from a movie like this. Could we have used different script, I guess, or characters, maybe, but this is what we got, and I don't think, as long as you're a fan, if you're a fan of Dolph Lundgren, you're going to like it. If you're a fan of Jason Statham, well, he's done a lot more. He's done a lot more than just stupid action movies, I think. So maybe it's a step down, but I like the fact he got to lead the movie, which is probably the most satisfying thing, is that it may not have pulled the trigger on being its own thing, or giving a new character, giving a different take on the franchise henceforth. But, you know, it's just a good show. So, that would be Expendables 4. I gotta go and find the first feature of a franchise to complete this tonight. And we'll go from there. Thanks